But now, if they are reducing it to Azimio or Kenya Kwanza issue, it is, to say the least, lack of vision on the part of Kenya Kwanza. Kenya Kwanza regime will win or lose around their own promises. They overpromised, they're underperforming. And therefore, blaming it on Raila, I think nothing can be further from the truth.
And you're just in time for Richard Mwenje exclusive, the Year of Our Lord 2024, your go-to point on matters political and governance analysis here in Kenya and across the region. Hosted by yours truly, Richard Mwenje. It is always a pleasure to have you on board. Now today, we're going to discuss matters to do with the new hurdle in the way of Raila Odinga's African Union Commission chairperson bid and whether he can navigate past that particular hurdle. We shall get into the nitty-gritties of that particular subject a little later on. But first things first, allow me to introduce our analyst for the day, none other than the think tank himself, former Minister Kipruto Arab Kiro. Agui KK, people refer to you as such.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. It's always my pleasure to share with you some perspectives of our society and our nation.
But you've been missing in the picture. Have you been for about a week and two? Or two?
I went up country because I lost my former chief, who happens also to have been my former classmate in primary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I thought this is somebody I've known for 52 years, since we started school so many years ago. And he's more of a brother. And he left a relatively large family of 8 children. And some of them are still in primary. Some in secondary, some in various institutions of higher learning. And I thought it is my responsibility to be with them, to condole with them, and also to see what kind of support, both in terms of advice and financial consideration, for the children to complete school.
Very well. And that's really subtle of you to be a friend in need, something that is missing in the picture oftentimes.
Yeah, what I realize is that many of us are fair weather friends. When it's convenient, I invite you for lunch. When I know you cannot afford to invite me the following day, I ignore you when you call. This is the society that we are now bringing, the society that I often refer to as a society of bad manners. Because when somebody is a friend, regardless of his status in life, regardless of his transition, you should be there, because it makes a lot of difference, because we've never gone there and come back. So at times when I'm here with you, I don't know the other side of life. I may be older than you, but I don't have that experience. So when somebody transits to the other side, look at him still as your friend. And those he has left behind are the friends he has left you with. They may end up being better friends than he was to you. Yeah.
I now understand why people call you Agui, which I believe means grandfather.
A grandpa.
Full of wisdom and all that.
Yeah, I hope I do have.
But you just portray that in the depth of your friendship.
Yeah, I think I've always told you, my mother, I being the last born, was able to imbue in me some humility, that don't look at people in terms of what they are wearing. Look at them in terms of their self-worth. How do you, don't tell me he was wearing a red shirt. Tell me this was a dark fellow, tall, slender, and so forth. For her, description was about the looks of the person, but not the clothes that he is wearing. And therefore, in my own interpretation, it is that look at the worth of the person in terms of the content of the character, not the dressing that he has above his body.
Very insightful. And now to today's conversation. How about we begin from the side of National Assembly Speaker, Mr. Kimani Ichung'wah, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. And he has come forth publicly and asked Raila Odinga to be humble, and instead that he should dig into the avenue of cultivating a sense of humility. in the face of his chief campaigner for the AUCB, that is President Ruto, and this has come after the public assessment of government's unpreparedness to mitigate floods and other crises that we are facing as a country. And what is your analysis of Ishungua's sentiments, and do you somewhat consider part of antics to intimidate Raila Odinga to tone down his voice on issues facing Kenyans?
First of all, I think you're referring to the majority.
Yeah, majority.
Or you said National Assembly Speaker.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the Honorable Etangula will have a beef with you.
Sorry.
But then, let me say this. I think our friends in Kenya Kwanza are overreaching themselves. It's not a favor for Raila to be the AU Commission Chairman. It is not a favor. Raila has his own credentials that span over a period of almost half a century that he has earned without the assistance of anybody. Let them be reminded that Raila's position at AU, should he cling that particular position, it is a blessing to all of us Kenyans. This is a position that we've never gotten since independence. The last time it came to East Africa, it went to Tanzania, Ahmed Salim. Let's not confuse with the chairman of AU. Chairman of AU is different from the chairman of AU Commission. This is an executive position that if the Honorable Raila gets it, it is to all of us, because that is a place that you can leverage in terms of international relations, in terms of interaction, with the need for us to improve communication in Africa. We need to improve business interactions in Africa and move towards the genuine integration of the continent. So for somebody to make it Kenya Kwanza or Azimio issue is, to say the least, myopic. It is lack of wisdom and lack of capacity. And they should not be panding it as if it's the end of the world. Raila can lose it, but Raila's credentials will not be changed by loss or getting that particular position. As I've said before, Richard, Raila can get that position, but on the eve of the next election, resign and come and run and win. Or he may not get it and run and still win. And for those who say he has run so many times, I just want to remind them a number of people. Abdoulaye Wade of Senegal, who is now 98, he won that particular position after running 5 times and not winning. There are many other examples, both in Africa and in the international community. Remember, Lincoln ran for a position akin to that of MCA, ran for a position akin to that of an MP, he ran for a position akin to that of senator. He lost the 3. But when he ran for the presidency, he won. So losing an election is not a ticket for us to start pinning on somebody's political career. Number 2, when we are talking about national challenges like floods, like corruption,
doctor strike and all,
and fake fertilizer, fake sugar laced with poison, and oil that was said to be unfit for human consumption. Later on, it was channeled to one of the institutions. Those are serious national concerns, especially with the incidence of cancer and other diseases that are related to lifestyle. We cannot just talk about them as if they are not serious issues. And we should not be gagged. Whether we are at Azimio or whether we are at Kenya Kwanza, we are Kenyans first. And we must accept the fact that, yes, you are in government, play your role. If you do well, you will get a re-election. If you don't do well, you don't blame it on Raila. And as I've said, this regime, Kenya Kwanza regime, will win or lose around their own promises. They overpromised, they're underperforming. And therefore, blaming it on Raila, I think nothing can be further from the truth. And they should stop telling us about all these positions. It is not a favor for Raila. In fact, if I was to decide, I'll tell him, don't go. Run and beat these guys, remove them out of this town. But it's not a favor. Whether he goes there or not, it's not a big favor. It's not a big deal. And they are not doing it because they want to assist Raila to get a job. Raila can live with this pension for the rest of his life.
And comfortably so.
Comfortably so. Number two, let them also remember that Raila has got his own international networks. So it's actually a favor for Raila to win for Kenya Kwanza, because they will be favored by saying, okay, we campaigned for him. They may get 1 or 2 votes, or people who don't know and don't understand international relations.
Then I'm curious to understand, now for this section of the political class who are making it look like a make or break point for Raila when it comes to the AUC bid, is the opinion somewhat informed by their fear of the Raila stature in Kenyan politics, or what could be informing that that opinion?
There is what I call Raila mania and Raila phobia. There are those who like Raila so much that anything Raila does is good, is music to them. But there are those who hate Raila even without reasons. They have a problem. They have been told Raila is a bad person, and therefore they don't see why Raila is a good person. So it is all informed by ignorance, because what is happening, Richard, in Kenya today is that the large population of our people are politically not informed. And they are informed only by narrow lenses of tribalism or individual cult. Otherwise, they are not informed sufficiently politically to understand there is a difference between a local job, like being a minister, and an international job. An international job is for the country, is for the region. I don't know. I don't know whether I should say more. I think they should stop this nonsense. We are sick and tired of being advised, by people who cannot even advise themselves. Because really, what do they know about international relations? When they see a flight, they think that's international relations. I don't understand.
Or foreign travel.
Foreign travel, which they do it almost every day.
It is not a measure.
And they tell us doctors don't have enough money. And yet, almost every Friday, they're out of the country. Actually, I think they come to the country to pick the next lot of money to travel in the next trip. Otherwise, they seem to be saying they are cutting on foreign trips, and yet they are increasing the number and the extent of staying away from Kenya.
Politics of double standards.
Double standards completely, hypocrisy, to say the least. Yeah.
Then I'm curious then to understand, is it that are you pointing to the direction that there are a section of the political class, most from Kenya Kwanza, whom you credit with the shallow thinking when it comes now this AUC bid for Raila Odinga?
Well, there is a lot they don't understand, because countries in Africa are put into a number of spheres of influence. There is the Muslim-leaning countries. There is the French-speaking, Francophone. There is the Anglophone. And there are those who are in between, like countries like Mozambique, which they were part of the Portuguese. Then there is countries like Angola, and a few others. And of course, even, Burundi and Rwanda, they were originally part of the German East Africa. Tanganyika, Burundi and Rwanda, they were part of the German East Africa. Later on, some moved to the League of Nations, some Belgium took over, and so forth. So all this is a matrix of issues that must be navigated carefully. And there's no better person who would be able to play with that matrix than Raila Odinga when it comes to Kenya. But now, if they're reducing it to Azimio or Kenya Kwanza issue, it is, to say the least, lack of vision on the part of Kenya Kwanza.
Rightly put. And moving on swiftly, Belgood Member of Parliament, that is Honorable Nelson Koech, has actually questioned whether Raila Odinga understands the seriousness for the office he's pitching for. And from that, he is imploring Raila Odinga to cultivate some sense of demeanor. Do you find that to be a genuine concern from Nelson Koech?
Nelson Koech and Raila Odinga, one could be a grandfather of the other. Where does he get the audacity to advise Raila? Nelson Koech is doing his second term, or whatever the term is doing, cannot really advise Raila.
On cultivating demeanor and all. that?
Yeah, about demeanor or misdemeanor. Actually, he should actually be rebuked for even having almost cast aspersion on the character of Raila. He should be rebuked. And I think we need to tell the president, if he does not want to support Raila, he should come out. Because from the beginning, he has been saying that. Sudi was saying, oh, we are giving it to Raila because we don't want him taking us to court every election. Another one said, we don't want to be seeing an old man crying for losing elections. We really, as I said, we are sick and tired of some of the utterances from Kenya Kwanza. They can tell us something else. We are fake engineers. They say they're engineers, and they never went beyond primary.
So,
Anyway, I think this Raila issue, I'm just praying for next February. Whether he wins or loses, there's still time for us to fight. And in fact, William should pray that Raila wins, so that he can tame him a bit. Tell him, okay, you are an international player.
Tone down.
Tone down. They talk at that particular level. But it's like coming to your place, Richard, and I find some young boys almost throwing stones at me. I will know that you don't respect me as a father of the home. But if I came to your place and I realize children are welcoming me, then I will know, okay, this is a place where I have a future. But you cannot tell me your children are rebuking me, and you like me, you have already prepared some sumptuous lunch for me. I will not take that lunch, I'll go home.
Moving on swiftly and advancing that conversation, from the optic of KO South Member of Parliament, that is Honorable Gideon Kimayo, he has actually come forth publicly and warned Raila Odinga that he should understand that Kenya Kwanza government can as well divert the resources they are using to sponsor his AUC bid and put it into other alternative fronts. What do you make of that sentiment from Gideon Kimayo?
It's unfortunate. Gideon Kimayo is a PhD candidate like me, in the same area of international studies at the University of Nairobi. He should have had better ways of looking at these resources. They don't belong to Kenya Kwanza. These are Kenyan resources. Whether it's the human resource, whether it is money, this is a Kenyan resource. And that's why I'm saying Raila's candidature goes beyond the Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. It is something that we should be looking at it as a blessing to the region. Because right now, it's supposed to be East Africa, and deputy chair comes from either Central or North Africa. So it is more of the region than a country. So Kenya is just the host. Remember, it's not a mass that is proposed by Kenya. Even President Museveni had said he can propose him. Remember, Dr. Mukisa Kitui went to the job that he was holding internationally, UNCTAD, because he was supported by the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. So some of these Kenyans who've still got this myopic thing, even when they go out of the country, they are still tribal. That's where we go wrong. At times you go out of this country, and when you are there, I'm looking for a fellow Kalenjin, and you are looking for a fellow Kikuyu, just because you feel you are not safer with somebody from another community. When we are out of Kenya, first of all, our identity should be Kenya. Then the second identity is your name. Otherwise, it is not supposed to be that we think about this thing in the local dimension.
Very well.
Yeah.
And now from the sentiments of National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, we've seen the sentiments of Gideon Kimayo and also Belgood Member of Parliament Nelson Koech. It somewhat comes out as if the AUC bid is an extension of Kenya Kwanza government, and Raila Odinga has to play within the terms and conditions of the Kenya Kwanza government. To what do you credit this obsession with that particular role from the government's eye?
Mere ignorance. They are totally ignorant of what is going on internationally. Yeah, because what I've realized with Kenya, and you will compare a number of positions, even internationally, Tanzania has been enjoying some of these positions at the UN. Remember Anne Mwagiru, then there is of course Ahmed Salim himself, and then there is also another lady called I've forgotten her name, and many Tanzanians have been enjoying those international positions because Mwalimu Nyerere was able to leverage on his image internationally to allow some of these Tanzanians, and he used to train them. I remember he told the late Edward Sokoine to resign as a minister, go back to school, get university education, and he brought him back and made him a prime minister of Tanzania. So Mwalimu Nyerere was very deliberate in building his own team of leaders. Here in Kenya, you have to struggle with your education, with everything you are doing. It is when you succeed that you get so many people celebrating with you. Otherwise, we are not deliberate. We should be able to identify a young man. He identified Ahmed Salim when he was at the university and built him until he made him the Secretary General of AU. This is the way we should be building our people. We should be deliberate. That we identify you, we say, okay, Richard, you can do 1, 2, 3. And we move in that particular direction.
Well articulated. And now shifting gears, we have seen the recent development, that being of a section of African Muslim bloc endorsing the candidature that has been presented forth by Somalia as a nation. And do you think this is a new hurdle for Raila Odinga? And if so, how high or how tall could this new order be for Raila Odinga?
You know, usually the voting at the AU is done the first round. If you don't clinch 2/3, the next two, the two that will go back to voting are the ones who will be number 1 and number 2. And so it may be in round 1, nobody gets 2/3. And in round 2, one of the candidates will have dropped. And in round 2, perhaps Raila will be able to clinch the 2/3 required. Because even if, let's say, nobody opposes him, and he doesn't get a 2/3, that election will be postponed for 6 months. So it's as well that, yes, Fauzia Mohammed and Mahmoud from Djibouti can run. And in round 1, because they will split the Muslim vote, I'm saying it now locally, then Raila will get the rest of the continent, which is about 20 to 20-something votes. So nobody will have clinched the 2/3. So either Fauzia or Mahmoud will drop in round 2. So Raila faces off with the final candidate. And if he gets 2/3, so be it, because an election is an election. You don't have to get all the votes.
Very well.
Once you get the threshold that is critical for you to clinch that position, the position is yours. Yeah.
Very lastly, there are a section of local leaders who have implored Raila Odinga not to go for the African Union Commission chairpersonship. And there is a quarter who believe their view is informed by personal selfish interest politically. Those who believe Raila's presence locally will help them leverage on their future political bids. The latest being former Kiambu Governor Mr. William Kabogo. What do you make of that analysis? Could there be an ounce of truth in that?
Well, there are 2 ways I look at Raila. Raila running for presidency is a very formidable force, and I think even the president is informed by that. That's why he's supporting him. The second issue is that there are people who will be orphans should Raila not be running, because they will be saying tunataka tusaidie mzee, baba ingie kwa serikali na tumchunge kwa serikali. So in the process they get their election, they get elected whether Raila wins or not. So those are the 2 schools of thought, and they are allowed, because it's like now we are going to Nakuru and you are going to Naivasha, and I've told you my fuel may not reach Nakuru. Then you tell me, okay, will it reach Naivasha? I tell you yes. You say no, something will come along because of M-Pesa nowadays. Something, but when you reach Naivasha, you don't care whether I will reach Nakuru or not. That is the second school that I'm telling you. There are people who have survived for even 20 years because wanasema tunasaidia mzee. So they are allowed politically. At times it is a selfish game. just like the principle of international relations, which is what is in it for me. So somebody will say, if Raila is running, what is in it for me? Will it allow me to win the position of governor, position of senator, position of MP, or any other particular position for that matter? And if it is yes, so let me not allow him to go to the other sphere of things. You retain him here for your win. But the others who genuinely know that Raila has a good chance of winning the next election.
Very well.
That's the school I belong to. And if I had a way of convincing him, I'll tell him, say, don't go. This is your chance. When you are about to lose hope is when you will win.
It is darkest before it's dawn.
Yeah. You know, when we were young, we used to go, you wait for a lady, and for 1 hour, she's not showing up. It's getting a bit dark. And when you are about to go is when she arrives.
When the dogs are already barking.
Yeah, so it may be.
It may be the case.
It may be the case. When you least expect. You remember even Kibaki won the election when he was on a wheelchair.
True.
So the Kibaki that we had for 10 years is almost with reduced capacity. Had Kibaki not gotten involved in that accident and not gotten stroke, the Kibaki that we would have had would have outperformed any other person who has run and won that particular office.
Very well.
Yeah.
So from your optic as a historian, seasoned politician and leader in this country, you are certain that there will be many political funerals and political orphans should Raila clinch the AUC bid?
Yeah, there are many. There are many. You know, many of them, they close themselves in the bathroom and cry. And they pray for Raila not to go to AU. So it's not Kenya Kwanza alone which is fighting Raila. Even from Azimio side, there are many of them who don't want him to go. But they have no courage to tell him because he knows that he knows them. Atasema mzee, unajua hii kiti ni mzuri lakini unajua
this and that dynamics.
Yeah.
Very well. There you have it. That point by Kipruto Arap Kiro, former minister, takes us to the wrap of this conversation today. We've been talking matters to do with the future of Azimio leader Raila Odinga and what it portends for him in the world of politics and governance. The latest development being his new hurdle in his AUC bid. And Kipruto Arap Kiro has helped us dissect into that subject and put out the truth and also critically analyze it. And we hope that you've tuned in to that conversation and you've tapped to the nuggets of wisdom from him. Until next time on Richard Mwenje Exclusive, do enjoy the rest of your viewing.